let's discuss the efforts to rescue folks with Jason Pack. He's a former FEMA External Affairs Officer and an experienced EMT first responder. Jason, talk to us about the experience of these first responders on the ground here in Texas as they continue to try and rescue and find survivors now, more than 72 hours after this happened. And as we learned actually just a moment ago, we've confirmed that the death toll has now climbed 94 people killed as a result of these floods. Jason, what do you make of the effort by these rescuers so many days out now, continuing to try to find any sign of life, racing against the clock?
Boris, the longer this goes on and as the days advance, the more I think that Hollywood could not have written a more throat-punching script. This is just absolutely horrendous. And as your last piece with the Coast Guard rescue swimmer said, these are ordinary people that have been thrown into extraordinary circumstances. Clearly, he sounded to be a rescue swimmer, but just hearing those stories of the bravery of the camp counselors and just the ordinary citizens there, I think for days and weeks to come, we're going to be hearing a lot about that. Now, to talking about the rescue, we're in day 3 here, and it's from that press conference earlier they had today, that emergency information that was coming out of Kerrville. We do know that the mission is still a search and rescue mission, so that is definitely the operational priority today in that unified command system, as he mentioned earlier. So, like you mentioned too, that the wall of water that came up was 20-something feet. It's not just going along these banks and wading into that nasty water full of sewage and debris, looking under these sticks. They have to look up 20 feet, however high the wall of water got. They have to search all the way up those tree lines. And the Coast Guard rescue swimmer was also talking about the helicopter pilots. It's an easy job navigating those tight areas where the pilots have to get in and oftentimes put a skid on something, and it's really, really a dangerous operation there. So we haven't really talked much about the heroics of the helicopter pilots. Certainly they have a tough job too. But in some other video that we've seen, we saw those cars, Boris, coming out of the water, and you saw the rescuers peek in there. In some cases, they have to take hand tools, open those doors, and then they're scraping out mud shovel by shovel just to see if anybody is in these cars and trapped in there. We heard the county executive or the county mayor there say this could be a 100-kilometer long search perimeter. So that could take days and maybe a week or so before they thoroughly search this area.
Yeah, that was my next question, how they go about doing that in such a broad area and in such an expanse. Does it work sort of like as a grid, or are there areas where the priority is flagged in the sense that there's suspicion that there might be someone there? How does it work? What's the order of priority?
I think it's definitely gridded off, and the GPS coordinates from where other people have been located could give some indication and some intelligence to kind of guide those rescue operations. You want to use your manpower and your staffing in the the best manner that you can, because you have limited resources, even though they say they have plenty. You have these urban search and rescue teams like you and I talked about yesterday, these highly trained folks looking under those bridges, looking in houses and homes, and looking for these overturned RVs that were at the trailer parks there and the RV parks along the 4th of July as people were camping. So I think what they're going to do is use their resources wisely, and they'll grid that out and coordinate under that unified command.
Jason, I also want to get your perspective on the overall approach to disasters like this. The White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt was asked a question from CNN's Kristen Holmes about whether the president might reconsider his plan to phase out FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, after these floods. If you could help us understand the kind of role that FEMA plays during events like this and will be playing as Texas looks to rebuild, versus the sort of vision from the president and the administration of a decentralized, state-based effort to respond to these kinds of disasters.
Well, there's a lot of misconceptions about what FEMA does and doesn't do. The people that work at FEMA are some of the most dedicated people in government, there to help in times of need. But all disaster response starts with state and local folks. And FEMA, they don't have fire engines, but they know how to get them. They don't have helicopters, but they know how to get them. So they're the coordinating agency and arm and the funding arm of the federal government. They have reach, back into all different forms of government resources. So each disaster is different, but for the most part, the local emergency managers work with the Texas, in this case, the Texas Department of Emergency Managers with those needs. And if they can't meet those, then that's when it goes to FEMA. I'll leave it to the politicians there and the people on your network who are better political analysts than I am. I'm a first responder and a rank and file guy, so we'll leave it to the experts for that. But I know the questions going around there today from at least my circle of first responders is just it's hit them really deep. Like the questions like, how could something like this happen? And why do certain people make it and certain people don't? Just that faith-shaking questions as you're going along there on day 3 in this hot, sweaty weather and this nasty water, trying to do your best to find anybody that you can out there. So it's really has shaken the first responder community across the country.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult at times like this when the scale of devastation is so hard to process. People look for meaning and accountability in every way that they can, but the work of these first responders, it is taxing not only physically but emotionally as well, and it is so appreciated at a time like this. Jason Pack, thank you so much for sharing your point of view with us.
Thanks, Boris.
Of course.